panel and commentators now. Trump supporter Jeffrey Lord is with us. Also, Ryan Lizza, Washington correspondent for The New Yorker. Jeffrey, let me begin with you. The early reaction to Tillerson as a possible Secretary of State pick has not been the most supportive. I mean, you've seen it. And it's not just from Democrats. It's from Republicans, too. This morning, you had Senator Marco Rubio of Florida tweeting this. Being a friend of Vladimir Putin is not an attribute I'm hoping for from a Secretary of State. If Tillerson is the pick, walk us through what you think this confirmation process is going to look like, because you've already got 2 of 52 Republican senators saying not so sure.
Actually, Poppy, there was a book and a movie about this in the late 50s and early 60s. It was called Advise and Consent, and it was about the nomination of somebody for Secretary of State by a presumably liberal president who nominated an Adlai Stevenson type in the day to be Secretary of State, and there was huge controversy over it. These things happen, and I have to tell you, Poppy, as somebody who worked in Washington a long time, worked in the White House and on Capitol Hill, Washington has this is something of a tribal ritual. They pick somebody out there, they put them under the glare, which is fine. I mean, all these nominees for anything should answer questions. That's fine. But there's a sort of, burn the witch at the stake aspect of this. And this smacks just a little bit of what that might be here. And I would just suggest respectfully to these senators, if they're going to, sure. If they want to question his relationship with Vladimir Putin and Russians and Russian influence, yes. But again, I would say broaden the investigation. Let's get into non-citizens voting in this country. Let's see what. I mean, you don't have to be a Russian to hack. I mean, there could be a hacking into the American electoral system from other sources right here in this country.
And that is what our intelligence agencies, the best of the best, have been doing, and the CIA concluding, and others, as far back as October,
the
that
FBI,
Russia did hack into this. But Jeffrey, I can't get into a debate over that right now. I hear your point. I'm telling you what our reporting is. Ryan, to you on this issue of the CIA's reporting that Russia's meddled in the election. When you look at the Trump team and how they're responding, we heard from the president-elect just there, and also now let's hear from Reince Priebus, his incoming chief of staff. The MO seems to be, it's not true, it's not true, it's not true. Listen.
Does the president-elect believe that Russia was trying to muddy up and get involved in the election in 2016?
Number one, you don't know it, I don't know it, and there's been no conclusive or specific report to say otherwise. So that's the first thing. The second thing I would tell you is that you don't have any proof that the outcome of the election was changed. Forget about who did the hacking.
Do you want to know?
Even if someone did the hacking, no, you don't have any. Tell me how you know that.
Does he want to know?
What specific? Of course we want to know.
So there's going to be an investigation? He wants an investigation on Capitol Hill?
Of course. Listen, I don't know what investigations he wants.
There was a much longer, Ryan, as you know, back and forth between the two of them this morning on Meet the Press. But he's saying, what's your source, what's your evidence, talking about intelligence officials. At the same time, the president-elect in that interview on Fox this weekend said, well, I actually blame the Democrats. But he didn't put a source out for that.
Yeah, and look, Reince is right. There's some ambiguity about what happened here. And in October, the intelligence agencies did put out a statement that was general about Russian hacking in the election. What was new this week is apparently they told some members of Congress that the intention of that hacking, which they had never been firm on, was in fact to support Trump's election. That's a pretty serious allegation. That's a big deal. And look, I understand why President-elect Trump is concerned about this, because it affects his mandate. It will affect his legitimacy in some sense if it's proven that the Russian government instituted a massive propaganda campaign to help elect him. So this issue is way too important to have anonymous, sourced commentary from briefers going to the Hill and briefing members of Congress. This, I mean, to me, it screams out for a comprehensive investigation, get to the bottom of it, and put it behind us. Look, he's going to be the president no matter what. It's not like there's a case for someone else as president. Whatever problems there were in the election, he's the president-elect. But we need to know as a country whether one of our major adversaries hacked our system and propagated a propaganda campaign, whether it helped him or someone else. It's much bigger than Donald Trump. We need to, and so I think Reince is right. We don't have all the information, and going forward, we need to have it.
So that is being called for a deeper investigation. As you both know, we have this bipartisan group of senators, Chuck Schumer, Jack Reed, John McCain, Lindsey Graham, all calling for this, releasing a joint statement that reads in part, we have an obligation to inform the public about recent cyber attacks that have cut to the heart of our free society. Democrats and Republicans must work together and across the jurisdictional lines of the Congress to examine these recent incidents. Jeffrey Lord, your reaction to that and what you would like to hear from the president-elect about that, given that this is, prominent Democrats and Republicans calling on this together. Do you want to hear more supportive words from the president-elect about such an investigation?
I want them to come up with the evidence. If they've got evidence, let's produce it. I mean, Chairman Priebus was on the...
They're saying, let's dig in. We need to dig in more on this.
Okay,
I guess, do you want to hear the president-elect come and say, you guys are right, go for it?
I would hope the president-elect then would say to them, okay, dig in. Because the other week he talked about fraud in voting with illegal immigrants voting, non-citizens voting. This is all part and parcel of the same thing. At the end of the day, it doesn't make any difference whether it's a Russian hack or a non-citizen of the United States actually physically voting. You are influencing the U.S. election system. And either way, if we're going to have an investigation, do it. Let's get it on. Let's really dig into it.
Ryan, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, look, from what I've seen, there's no evidence of widespread voter fraud. We do have the intelligence community saying publicly that the Russians had an intelligence operation against our country.
Not by name, though, Brian.
So, but fine. If there's going to be an investigation into voter fraud, do it. But this issue is far too important to get bogged down in defensive politics because you think it's going to damage Donald Trump's reputation. This is bigger than him. This is our electoral system, Jeffrey. And I know there's an instinct to defend your guy, but Jeffrey, as an American, you and every Republican and every Trump defender, every Democrat should want to get to the bottom of Vladimir Putin interfering in our election. If Jill Stein had been elected, we should...
If you're an illegal immigrant voting, you shouldn't be. You are interfering with our electoral system. I agree with you.
You really think that's the same thing, Jeffrey? Do you really think Vladimir Putin...
Well, of course it is.
Really? You think
of course it is.
A propaganda campaign from a foreign adversary is the same as a few illegal immigrants voting in an election?
If you are influencing the election by showing up to vote when you have no right to vote, yes, you are doing exactly the same thing.
What Brian's asking you is about the magnitude of the threat. That's what he's asking you about. And he says, are you saying that they're equivalent?
Jeffrey, you're just throwing out peripheral issues. This is our country, Jeffrey. We have a foreign adversary.
Party here, I guess. I don't know. Or
Jeffrey,
liberals.
I'm not on here defending either party. I'm defending American democracy, Jeffrey, because we have a foreign power that our intelligence agencies are credibly telling us interfere in our election, and every Trump supporter I see on TV just gets their back up and gets defensive and decides this is an attack on Trump. It's not an attack on Trump. It's an attack on American democracy.
Foreign citizens voting in this country is an attack on American democracy, just like Russia.
Where's the evidence of that, Jeffrey? Where's the evidence of that is an important issue? Tell me the evidence.
The U.S. Government Accountability Office reported back in 2005 that there was evidence of this.
It's 2016, Jeffrey. The issue before us is Russian interference in our election, not a 2005 report.
Guys, I have to get a break, and you'll both be back with me. Jeffrey, Ryan, it's important. We'll keep debating. I got to get a break, and you'll be right back. Thank you very much. Coming.